Okay, hello everyone, this is Samerman. I just want to make a quick video explaining why I would recommend whaling for Acheron, even though I wouldn't recommend whaling normally for a gacha game. And the big reason why I recommend whaling is because of the way she scales so well. Just so, doing a quick overview of her Eidolons, you get a free 18% crit rate buff. It's pretty much up at all times, even though it says it's conditional to damaging debuffed enemies. They will always be applied with Crimson Knot, so this is pretty much 18% permanent. Your E2 is the big one. It reduces the number of Nihility units to reach the 160 on the Abyss Trace, and it also gives you one stack of Slash Dream and one Crimson Knot at the start of every one of your turns. This is actually very big because this results in a 3-turn guaranteed ultimate with their Light Cone, which is extremely useful for faster clears and also will be very nice to have, especially with a turn buffer like Bronya or Sparkle. Her E4 is a 8% vulnerability, and then her E3, E5, everybody knows, skill and ult, basic talents, and then her E6 is the broken one. This is the one that everybody's talking about because of this line right here. The toughness can be broken regardless of the weakness type, but in my opinion, the most broken part of this is actually this line right here. Damage dealt by basics and skills will also be considered as ultimate damage. So the reason why this is big is because ultimate damage actually gets a lot of buffs in a lot of things, including in her kit. So here her ultimate damage is the ultimate damage all type res pen is increased by 20%. This will also apply to your basics and your skills, which means she's ignoring 20% res pens on top of what the other characters can do, such as Silver Wolf, which would be a 10%, or Runeway, which would be another 20% on her ultimate. And then here, this buffs it by another 8% by applying a vulnerability, and this scales multiplicatively, so this is multiplied on top of the damage boost. And then lastly, her Light Cone. So I'm at S4 right now and not S5, so all this would be increased by 6, 4, and 4, so this would be 60%, 40%, and 40%. And so everybody knows this part. She gets a free stack at the start of every turn just because of her infliction of the debuff, Mirage Fizzle. But the big part about this that scales extremely well with Eidolons is these last lines, where it deals 36% increased damage to targets, and as well, they deal in additional 36% through their ultimate damage. And so the 36% ultimate damage also adds on to this. So this brings it up to a 80% at S5 and will make you do a lot more damage. But if you aren't pulling for Light Cone, because this can be pretty expensive, E6 is definitely a good stopping point. Lastly, I want to talk about relics. Everybody knows the Pioneer set and also the new set, the Izumo set, which is good for lower constellations. But once you reach E6, Inert Sasato is definitely the best. This is mostly because you get the ultimate damage increase of 15%, as well as that bigger 8% crit rate buff. But if you do not have E6 or you are not that focused on her ultimate damage, Izumo is definitely a good one to farm, especially since the other set will be useful in Pure Fiction. I believe it's the Desert one, but that one will be really good in Pure Fiction, so this is just a general good domain to farm. These are my current stats, sitting around a 60% with a 260% crit damage. With Bronya, this reaches 350, I believe. And then I'm running Pella, of course, with the Resolution Light Cone, which pretty much everybody is. If you have the Resolution Light Cone, this is very nice. If you have the 100% base chance of S5, then you only need a 60% base. You only need 60% effect hit rate to guarantee it, which is extremely nice for Pella's kit, since a lot of her stuff also hovers around that 100% area. But yeah. And then also on top of that, we have Gallagher, which is our new character, of course, which will also inflict more debuffs. So what I just want to show really quick is why she is ridiculous is that the damage that you begin to receive gets pretty out of control. I think I'm going to run this with, I'll keep the Fu actually in here for the extra damage boost. But some Fujiwon tech that you can run as well is you can run the World Trend Light Cone to get an extra debuff. But personally, if you still have the Fujiwon Light Cone, I would recommend using that one instead. So, the big reason why Acheron can become extremely stupid, extremely fast, is because of the damage that she outputs. So here, I'm going to skill, and then into ult to keep my damage boost. And as you saw as well, 151k on a skill is pretty crazy. But then our damage boost here, we have 35% from Bronya Lycone, we have 66% from Bronya buff, and then we have 9% from Fushuan buff. And on top of that, we get the 12% crit rate and the 50% attack boost from Bronya. And then if I'm looking at her stats, 290-ish, I said 350, 290-ish. This can get up way higher though in some universe, of course, and about in 93% accounting for the 18% that's not included here due to her E1. And then as you can see, we're all hovering at around 120%. But if I attack, then she goes up to 150. If I attack one more time, then we're going to be at 180. And then if I attack one more time, I won't show it. I won't be able to show it, but it gets up to 210. And right now we're at 501. And then with the big burst, we hit 1.4. So why Acheron is also extremely busted is that she will only become stronger in the future. And that's because we actually don't have our best teammates yet. We don't have a lot of Nihility characters that focus on debuffs outside of Silverwolf and Pella. And Silverwolf is single target. So as soon as we get a 5-star version of Pella that's able to AoE debuff, Acheron will become significantly stronger. So our big moment right now is that we are just waiting for that final buff and takeover to be able to get the full usage out of Acheron. But it's definitely as soon as we are able to receive that new character, he will become significantly stronger. If I waited for that debuff, I would have been able to zero clear it, but oh well. But yes, this is basically the power of Acheron, and right now she is extremely broken, and she is one of the few characters that I would actually recommend wailing on, just because she scales so well, and like I said, this isn't our best team. I didn't pull for Sparkle since I knew I was going for E6, so I did not have Sparkle yet, but Sparkle is a better alternative to Bronya just because of her crit damage buff is constantly up, and also her buffs are overall better. And then, of course, as soon as we get a 5-star version of Pela too, it'll become a significantly stronger team. And I just have Gallagher in here for the extra debuff and for fun right now. But yeah, Acheron is an extremely good character that scales extremely well with her Eidolons and also her Light Cone. So it's extremely rewarding for you to get her. And then comparing her to characters like Dawn Il or also Jingliu, which I don't have, her damage, in my opinion, gets crazier than the other two. And that's because Dawn Il is really good at bursting because he has a lot of front-loaded damage, just like Acheron's. But he requires so much skill point usage that it's not reliable. And Jingliu is very solid, but her damage kind of falls off because we are kind of at a breakpoint for her, where unless we get more versions of Sparkle and Bronya, then Jingliu's damage won't significantly increase, just because she's kind of like a jack of all rather than a specialist. And lastly, why Acheron scales so well, in my opinion, in the future as well, is that her teammates become significantly better. Because we've already seen Sparkle, which is a very good on top for somebody like Dawn Il, but also because there are a lot of future characters that will become a lot better. And then ignore my stats on my Dawn Il, he's not built right now. But yeah. Acheron definitely scales extremely well, and although Dawn Il and Jingliu are both extremely powerful characters that can easily zero cycle the rest of the content in the game, she will only get better with time as we get new characters, and this is exactly why I would recommend pulling for her. Thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll make more content for this in the future. Have a good one.